Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about some personal experiences and scenarios where I feel like patience has paid off in some of my tarot purchases. And I feel like adopting this kind of mindset of patience and um, delayed gratification has helped me with deck FOMO and just making sure I feel good about my spending choices. Of course, patience isn't everything when it comes to tarot deck purchases, and I understand that there are plenty of other personal circumstances and surrounding factors, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm disregarding all that. All I wanted to get at today are just some scenarios where I found the act of having patience in particular to have been beneficial. So, having said that, the first scenario is about independent or indie decks. A lot of the times, these decks are in smaller batches. Um, there might be a limited time frame where the creators are taking orders. And so by the time I find out about one of these beautiful decks, it's no longer available. And to that I say, it doesn't matter. What I've found is that many creators, more often than not, are working on new projects and creations, um, especially if they're on social media, which many of them are. You'll get glimpses and updates of the new things brewing. So go follow your favorite creators, whether it's on social media or maybe they have a newsletter, so that next time around you'll be the first to know. And you don't need to become fixated on that one thing that's out of reach right now or shell out a ridiculous amount to someone else who might be selling it. Open yourself to other things that may stumble your way. So, the second scenario I wanted to talk about is regarding similar looking decks. So, a while back, I almost backed a deck on Kickstarter. Well, I actually did back it at first, even though it was a bit pricey to me. Um, but I did it only because I truly thought that it was something unique, um, at least at the time. And so weeks passed by, and later I just felt that, as beautiful as the deck was, um, what the creator was offering um, was just not worth that price tag. And plus, I saw that the creator was starting to not respond um, to some people's comments. And so the whole thing just felt a bit off, you know what I mean? So later on, I decided to unback it, um, not thinking too much about it afterwards. But then recently, I see someone else, a completely different creator from another part of the world, launching a deck with such a similar style as the one I almost backed. And immediately, it felt like I dodged a bullet. Because when I get a deck, a lot of the times it's because of the the artist's unique style. And so when I see that it's no longer the case, I just don't feel like it's that genuine or special anymore. So anyways, in this instance, I felt like taking that pause and having that patience of hearing my thoughts out, digging deeper into someone's project has refreshed my viewpoint and filter out the things that I don't actually want. The last scenario is about secondhand out of print decks. So I was on the hunt for a vintage deck for the first time, and with these types of decks, all I saw were insane prices. And I kept looking, and later on, I actually managed to find one that was within a more reasonable price range. And so I was like, okay, is this the one? Should I click buy it now? Um, there were tons of people like watch listing this deck, so it made me felt like that sense of urgency, you know? But eventually I told myself to wait, and it was really just because of the price. I mean, like, it was more reasonable compared to some of the other listings, but it was still out of my intended budget. So I told myself that I would only buy the deck if it was within my budget, because I just knew that if I saw something later on for cheaper, I would just beat myself up and I would not feel good about my purchase if I just gave in right now. And it would probably even end up hurting my relationship with the deck, I think. And so I waited, and guess what? I kid you not, the next day I see someone else listed for almost 20% cheaper and in better condition. I must say that it's so important to do your research when buying secondhand stuff, in terms of pricing, the seller, and the details of the product. Like, for example, pricing. Don't just look at what the prices are on one website or platform. Go to different places to see how much the deck is being sold for in those other places. See if there's anything on eBay, Facebook, Etsy, or your local stores that might have secondhand stuff. And in terms of the seller, apart from their overall rating, do they have any negative reviews lately? What do they mostly sell? If someone's listings are primarily, say, I don't know, like electronics, and then they have this one listing for a tarot deck, I'm not saying that they're not legit. I would just be extra careful in examining the listing and item. Um, the product details. Are they showing the actual item being sold? Or is there only one photo on the listing that the seller could have potentially just pulled off the internet? Other things about the product you might want to look out for are, are there different sizes or additions to the same deck that you might not be aware of? So yeah, really scrutinize the details and make sure you know what you're paying for. I mean, sure, some places or people do accept returns, but personally, I just find that to be a waste of time and resources. Or maybe I'm just too lazy. So, yeah, I feel like the lesson here is to know your budget, be patient, and wait for the right deck to come along at the price you're willing to pay. I mean, I guess there's also a bit of luck involved too, but worst case scenario, it never shows up, but at least you won't ever feel bad later on about overspending on something that ends up not being what you're looking for. And so, yeah, just have the patience to do your research and due diligence so that you make sure you're getting what you want. So, those are some of my deck purchasing mindsets and more recent experiences buying decks. And just remember that it's good to slow down. Give yourself time to process your thoughts before rushing into something. Um, Taking no action is better than a hasty decision. So, yeah, that's about it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.